Podcast, episode 2.
Episode 2? Or is it episode 1? Because we just did the pilot.
Yeah, maybe pilot and then 1. It's episode 1.5.
Episode 1.5.
Yeah, we are now veteran podcasters.
We are on episode number 2, so probably better than 50% of other podcasts out there.
That is true. That is true. Probably the average lifespan would be one episode, 2 episodes.
1.25?
1.25. There
so
we go.
we're at 1.5.
1.5. Just like average realtors, about 1.25 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're almost past the average
I'm
lifespan.
at the average lifespan of realtors. So
yeah.
if you don't see me on the next podcast, you'll know that I am just average.
Yeah. Well, Sam, I think will make it. I think he's above average.
Look at that.
There you
average
go.
realtor. Awesome. So for episode 1.5, we are going to be talking about first-time buyer experience.
Yeah. We are going to talk about kind of the process of buying for the first time, and we actually have Sam here as our special guest, as he has just gone through the first-time buying experience. Him and his wife Chloe just purchased the place where we're at today, down here in his basement right now. And so we're going to talk about that, kind of have him tell his story about buying. Then I'll maybe interject, ask a few questions along the way, and just try and give you an idea of what it is like to purchase a home for the first time.
Totally. Yeah, and I think it's a relevant topic because there's so many people that talk about buying their first home because it is an obvious goal for majority of people out there, I'd say. But just knowing the process, I find there's a lot of people that have misconceptions or things that they didn't understand about it before hearing about it. So, yeah, I think that this will be relevant and helpful for people.
Yeah, and even if you've purchased before, there's probably little tidbits that maybe you didn't get the first time you were buying. Maybe things have changed over the last 40, 50 years since you purchased your first home. Or
you're still living in your first home from 50 years ago. Good on you.
It happens.
Good on you.
Yeah. So, even if you have not purchased in a few years, the market's always changing. Rules are changing for us. So hopefully there's a little bit of tidbit of information, maybe a little bit of entertainment in the story for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So starting from when did we first look into it? I think December. December 2022, there was a house or two that came on the market. Came on in Country Club, which for those of you that are Grand Prairie residents, you might know is a nice sought-after neighborhood, very mature,
Popular.
A lot of trees. It's right in between all 3 disc golf courses, which is main draw for us. And so a house came on that was under $300,000. It was kind of what we assumed our price range would be, but we didn't even know. We didn't know how much we could afford. Because I think we had used a quick mortgage calculator online, and I know firsthand that that's not always accurate based on your credit, things like that. It can totally change. So, it's super easy for us to go look at houses because I can book it in as a realtor and just Chloe and I go show up and take a look. So we went and looked at this place, and it was not what we hoped it would be. And so, I think we ended up looking at 3 houses that day, and we were kind of like, for this price range, we might just wait. I don't know if we can get a nice place in this area that we like. So we kind of just put it on hold. And then 2 months later, I think near the end of January, we started looking at places. And so, we went out. Actually went first and talked to a mortgage broker this time because we were slightly more serious. And so my good friend Rhonda Danderfer, I recommend her to all my clients, and went and sat down with her, and she did a full pre-approval process with us. And so basically, my income couldn't really work because I'm a realtor, and
so I'm just going to interject here quickly. Why don't you tell us a little bit about why your income didn't work and maybe some of the different pitfalls when it comes to getting financed, maybe approved or pre-approved. As a first-time buyer, maybe without a lot of work history, or in your case, being a commission salesman.
Totally. So, in general already, I think it is a little harder for us first-time home buyer, young guys that, I talk with lots of us that, maybe we haven't found our career and we've been changing jobs every 6 months. And so instantly that is a bit of a red flag for lenders and mortgage brokers. And so, my job being fully commission, I've only been in it for 1 year, didn't even have a year of taxes done on it. And so basically I am a high risk client for a mortgage broker to take on, because I could make $0 over the next 6 months, or I could make $100,000 over the 6 months, and they have no idea how much I'm set to make. And I have no idea how much I'm set to make. And so basically, even though I did have good credit, I had a little bit of debt with a car. I have a car that I haven't fully paid off. And so there is just things there that kind of lined up against me where I was essentially a red flag for that. So she tried getting us pre-approved and it wasn't looking good. And then she just took me fully off the file and just ran it through my wife, Chloe, who is a prime target for lenders and mortgage brokers. She's been with the same company since before COVID, so about 3 years now she's been with them. She has been promoted but has stayed with the same company, so it's just promotions through the same company. She's on a salary job where there's no overtime pay, there's none of that. It is just a set wage that she's going to make for the year. She makes the same every pay stub, and so she was a prime candidate for just a good lending kind of risk.
So Chloe is one of those individuals that lenders like. She's fixed income, she is good work history, and then obviously had a good credit score. Paid her bills when they were due.
And most of the debt that we have as a couple is under my name, so basically taking me off took off our debts and took off the red flag of my income, and it basically was a good looking application.
So obviously people in commission sales, people that start jobs, at some point they can get financed. So did Rhonda give you an idea of how long you'd have to wait if they wanted to use your income?
So she basically said, if I have done 1 full year and have taxes from a year, then I could start getting looked at by some. They wouldn't be highly favorable towards me. It'd mostly be B-side lenders, things like that. It would be about 2 years of doing the job that I've done to where they have a general average of how much I've made over those 2 years and can kind of work that in and then start looking at it and viewing it as an acceptable income to add on to my file there.
And did she make any mention, or in your other experience, have you figured out how long someone would need to work in a job before they would be considered, a stable candidate? So just your standard salary, or just your average worker job, have a boss, show up 9 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever it is.
So one of my clients had just started at a mechanic shop when he was going out looking, and so I think she was asking for 3 months of pay stubs, but 6 months at least at that employer kind of thing as a bit of a minimum. I know that they like to have probably a year under their belt at a place, but I think that as soon as you have kind of that 6 month at one place, then you start to look a little better for those lending companies.
And did she talk about exceptions at all? Because I've had some clients get exceptions.
Like, I mean, you probably have more stories for it for sure, but like I think that even the lender that we ended up getting, like, she tried a lot of different things between putting in my putting in my income versus not putting in my income, putting in certain parts of Chloe's, and just kind of mix and match with different lenders. But as far as certain exceptions for like specific job and stuff, I don't know too much about.
So the one thing is, don't fret too much if you've just changed jobs. You can definitely talk to us. You can definitely talk to a mortgage broker. I have had clients get exceptions if they're staying in the same field. So if you are, say, a mechanic, you've worked at the Ford dealership for 3 years, you get a great opportunity at the Dodge dealership. You move over there. Often, if it is the same role in the same kind of work, they're going to look at you favorably. They'll probably still want a couple months worth of work history or a contract, and then they would look at that and then the other thing would be contract work. I've had people working at the mills, people in medical, so nurses, stuff like that. Contracts are gold. So if you show up to a mortgage broker, say I've only been working here a month, but I got a contract, or a teacher, something like that, I got a contract for a year. This is what it looks like. They'll often look at that favorably. I can't guarantee anything because I am not a mortgage broker. But yeah, I just encourage you to talk to us and talk to mortgage brokers, even if you might need an exception.
Yeah. And even just like I've had a lot of people that are looking in there about, they're probably still years out from buying a house, and it's just mortgage brokers can help you know which debts to pay off, which ones will be smarter to do, where to hold your money, which purchases not to make leading up to buying a home, things like that. And so it's always good to talk to a mortgage broker regardless of how serious you are or not.
Okay, so going back to it, you were in the business, got interested in buying a house for yourself, looked at a few, went back to the mortgage broker, got serious, nailed down what the price point was where you could really buy, figured out that it's better if Chloe goes on the application alone. So you kind of have a plan financing wise. Tell us about looking kind of when you were actually ready to purchase.
Yeah. So, we were prepared for a certain amount. We didn't want to quite go to our ceiling because, we'd be kind of money tight and there's money we didn't want to take out of investments, things like that. And so we were going around looking about $15,000 under our price range, but also knowing that set price that they're listed at is variable and we can try and negotiate it down a little bit. So we went out and we were looking at homes, and we accepted that we probably wouldn't be able to afford a home with a finished basement, finished upstairs that's updated, and a garage. And so we figured right now we don't really have a need for a garage as long as we have storage space in the basement. A garage would be nice, don't get me wrong, but that was the thing that we kind of realized. Those houses usually are $20,000-$30,000 up above what they would be without the garage. So we figured we could get a nicer home without a garage. So that was something we took off there. So we started looking, looked at a couple places that had suited basements. And so those would be, decent bungalows that were updated a little bit and had a suite in the basement. But we didn't really want basement renters. That's, we just came from an upper suite that we were renting, and, we like to host, we like to have a lot of space, and downstairs renters don't love us hosting, people over till 11, 12 at night. So, we were excited to just kind of have freedom and have a full house to ourselves. So, we found ourselves looking mostly at older bungalows in nice, mature areas that then had, finished basements and full homes, usually 3 to 4 beds. We didn't really like the style of the 2 stories at the buy levels that are newer that we could probably afford. Most of those are in tighter neighborhoods with smaller lots, and one of the main reasons we were buying a house is for our dog to have a yard to run around in and whatnot. And so, we looked at, I think, probably 8 or 9 homes. Every day I would send Chloe everything that came on in the price range that we were looking at. And so, it's that exciting thing, right? Every time you see a home come in at the price range that you can afford, you're like, oh, I want to go see this in person. And we settled on a few of them. We were kind of fighting back and forth. There's one that had a really nice basement that I saw a lot of potential for us having a rec room down there, maybe a pool table or a ping pong table. And then the house that we ended up buying here has a huge kitchen. And if any of you know my wife, she loves cooking.
Yeah, she likes to bake.
She likes to cook. She ran a home bakery for a little bit.
I had 2 of her cookies this morning at an open house. Very good.
Yeah. So she was pretty sold on this place right off the bat. And so myself being a realtor, I was really trying to nitpick it. And kind of play devil's advocate because that's what we do with each other, and we're kind of competing over which house we're going to choose. But my wife is very strong-willed as well, so I was in a losing battle there. And honestly, most of the things that I was nitpicking here ended up being okay. So, we took our first initial look here. We really liked the place. It had only been on the market 4 days, I think, when we first popped in here. So we knew that we might have to move quick. It's always that hard thing where it could stay on the market for 3 more months if we didn't write an offer, or it could have sold the next day. And so, we're feeling a little bit of pressure as far as, making a move quick. So
Don't want to miss out on it.
don't want to miss out. Exactly. So I called Jeff and saw if he could come walk through with us, because Jeff has a history in building homes and being around real estate for over 15 years. And so, yeah, being newer to home ownership and the ins and outs of a house, it was nice having a second set of eyes. So so Jeff came and helped point out some things to us. There was some moisture that had come in the house at certain times. There was just little things. They had a big addition to the back of the house, and so just seeing underneath that to make sure it was done properly, seeing up in the attic above there. So just stuff like that we hadn't necessarily thought of was good to have Jeff come through with us and check out.
And there was a few things. So when I came up, I pulled up, I looked at it online, but when you look at something online, as Sam knows and as I know and anybody who's looked at real estate, pictures only tell part of the story. You don't really know what a house looks like until you walk through. I tell people, we're not going to get replaced by pictures until they do a scratch and sniff picture on your computer, because every house has a smell. That tells a lot of stories if it has pets, if it's had ongoing moisture issues, stuff like that. But so when I came over to have a walkthrough with Sam and Chloe, some of the things I noticed right away, which I think were big positives, it has newer shingles, it has newer siding, all the windows upstairs, although it's an older house, have been replaced with modern style windows. So, immediately I knew that the building pocket itself looked like it was in pretty good shape. And those are big cost items. Windows, we're talking $5,000-6,000. Shingles used to be a lot cheaper. Right now, we're getting a lot of quotes for clients between kind of that $10,000-12,000. So another big bite, especially if you're just buying your first place. So we saw some of those things. A big deck. Now the deck had some heaving, but I think those are things that are easily adjusted. But nice pressure treated, good deck. So there was definitely some positives inside. There was some cosmetics. By the sounds of it, there was some tenants in here previously.
Yeah, and that was a good thing too. Is we ended up reaching out to the other realtor, and even now we've talked to some people on the street and know there was a person living here before, and they took really good care of it. They did a lot of updates to it, and then they tried to rent it. I think they moved away from my Facebook creeping to them. Moved away, and they had tenants in here for about a year, and I guess those tenants they created a lot of water damage in the place, flooded the bathroom. So they ended up having to put about $30,000 worth of renos in just to fix what had been broken by the renters and whatnot. So, and it was just about all it looks like professionally done. Like, I don't think it was a whole lot of handyman, from his own house. And if it was, he was good at it, because there's, just a lot of stuff that even our home inspector walked through and just complimented it. They've done a good job with and whatnot. So
we could tell from walking through, that a lot of things were done well. Even the addition here, the way that the roof line tied in, it looked nice and cleanly done. We could see from the outside that there was a concrete, at least from the outside, we could see it was concrete, whatever it was. Wasn't sure if it was a full depth or perimeter wall, but we could tell it was concrete, and it looked like it was professionally done. So, those were some of the immediate things that I saw. Also recognize that it's kind of a nice, quiet area. Those were things that were important to Sam and Chloe, close to a big field. We got the workout park right behind, so Sam might get over there and do some good old workout machines.
We'll see. We did try them out the other day.
Yeah, so I thought there was definitely some positives. I put my 2 cents, and then what happened after that?
Yeah, exactly. So it was good. Jeff kind of gave us his opinions, and so we got his advice, and then we just went and talked with the mortgage broker, gave her the listing and said, like, hey, would this be doable? And then we also wrote up an offer, and we wrote a little bit of a low ball. And we didn't expect to get it for that price, but they ended up, they came back to us pretty quickly. It seemed like they were ready to be done with the place. It was vacant, so I don't think they, every month that they held it, I think they were losing some money on it. So they came back with just their bottom line price, which was pretty reasonable in our eyes. It was less than what we were willing to go for. So
don't tell them that. They might come back.
They might come back now. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he's watching this podcast. And so we wrote in a couple of conditions too. We wrote in a financing condition just to make sure that our mortgage broker would be able to get us a lender that get us a good rate and be able to get us more in place.
Just on that, so you went through the pre-approval process.
Yeah.
But now the mortgage broker is going to go back to the lender and do the actual approval, right?
Totally, because she's going to show them the home, and the lender has to approve, this specific home, and I think that they send out someone to do an assessment on it. And
yeah, often they do an appraisal. So either they'll do a desktop appraisal, so they'll just look at some of the city information on it, look at the assessment, stuff like that. Sometimes they'll want to do an in-person appraisal, so they'll send someone out. But even though Chloe was pre-approved, they still had to approve her and the property and kind of that whole marriage. So even if you're pre-approved, it doesn't mean you can write an unconditional offer. It means that you should be good to go. They're going to check you, check the property. Often they do a second back end credit check, make sure nothing's changed, make sure that they didn't miss any skeletons in the closet, and then have someone essentially in higher up positions review the file.
Yeah, and because we did that pre-approval ahead of time, I think it only took us 4 days to get the go-ahead to waive that condition. We were right in 2 weeks just because some things can get complicated, this and that. But that was an easy condition to end up removing. And then a property inspection, and so we had our property inspector come out with us and check everything over. It was a little tougher. It's in the winter time, so he wasn't able to get up on the roof or under the deck, things like that. That normally they might do in the summertime. But
so whose cost was the property inspection at?
The cost was to us. I think we paid $500 for the property inspection. And yeah, that's kind of the cost where it's like, we're willing to lose $500 and not buy a house that is going to cost us $50,000 in the next few years. And it's just the peace of mind even. And it was good. Our property inspector, he looked through it all and he noted a lot of little things. But he also explained to us, these are little things that are common with a house of this age. And we were ready for that. The house was built in the 60, I think it was 63. It was in the 60s. And so
it's older than both of us.
It's older than both of us, for sure. Even though, it's a lot older than us. Probably, I think it's older than my dad. But there's little things that I was expecting there to be wrong. No big red flags. And he also gave us an outline of, hey, this is the problem here. It's not up to code, but by doing this simple thing, spending $50 here and putting this in yourself, it totally fixes the problem. So it was nice because it gave us a big detailed list of the little things that we had to do. Chloe's dad actually builds homes, and so he's coming next weekend, and we're going to do some renos together here and just kind of fix those little things. But yeah, overall, there was no big red flags that scared us away from making a deal happen on this property.
Okay, so you get your financing approved. Rhonda sends you a letter saying, congrats, you're approved for financing. You get the property inspection, you look through it, you say, okay, nothing here that is really shocking. Nothing here we can't handle. We're pleased with this picture, the snapshot in time that is the property inspection. So then what's the big thing that you do then?
We waive all conditions.
Okay. And what does waiving conditions mean?
Waiving conditions is basically taking away our safeguard of our ability to walk away based on something to do with the transaction or with the property. So, waive conditions. So essentially, it switched to a sold house, and it was just, I think, 2 or 3 weeks after that till possession day.
Yeah. So at that point, when you remove conditions, for all intents and purposes, the property sold. If you were to walk away from the deal, they would take your initial deposit. So initial deposit is just putting a little bit of money where your mouth is. Up until the time you waive conditions, you could have got that deposit back. But at that point, that deposit becomes part of the down payment. And then, you're obligated to purchase a home. You're saying, yes, I'm committing 100% in at that point.
Yeah. So it's a exciting / scary time there, but then it's 3 weeks of busyness where we're packing up our home. We were living in a rental for 3 years there, and so start getting everything packed up there. We're getting as many boxes filled as we can, making sure we got some people lined up for a move-in weekend, and then we go talk to the lawyers. I think we talked to them. I think we took possession on a Wednesday, so I think we talked to them on Friday as well as on Monday. We went and signed all the paperwork, and then yeah, made sure all the money went through. And
So you signed paperwork. How about utilities, insurance?
Yep. Did that stuff a little last minute as well. That's why we went into the lawyers, I think, on Monday or Tuesday there, as we got home insurance all set up then. But yeah, pretty easy as far as utilities goes. We did a little research on best prices in town, stuff like that. We had a TELUS guy show up the day we took possession to set up our Wi-Fi because Chloe works from home and needs that. Outside of that, yeah, we just kind of told them what day we were taking possession. Told them our address. Got heat set up. Got our Aquaterra set up. Got all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so it is that stuff that you kind of creeps up on you. We didn't really. You're kind of put it to the back burner, and then the lawyers are like, okay, who do you got home insurance to? And you're like, oh, yeah, home insurance. Got to remember that. So,
and those are things that we will remind you. In this case, Sam was...
I didn't have a realtor to remind
was
me.
Was not reminding himself. But it is one of those things that, those are some of those items that hopefully we can help you remember. We can provide you with valuable information to make that easier, that transition.
Totally.
But yeah, so you got utilities set up. Tell us about possession date. What happens on the possession day?
So possession day, wife is breathing down my neck, just asking when we can get into the house.
And when can you normally get into the house?
Normally we say I tell my clients between noon and 3 p.m. But I guess legally it's technically 6 p.m. right? That's the legal one we heard the other day from some lawyers.
Yeah, the contract says the house will be vacant, ready for possession by 12 noon. Yeah. But apparently there is law precedent that really it's 6 p.m. So don't get too excited about moving in on
expect to move in that day, noon. But like Chloe was ready to move at 7 a.m. and fact of the matter is we don't get key release till I think we ended up getting it at 11:30 a.m. So it was still earlier than.
And what needs to take place before key release?
Basically, the lawyers just need to make sure all the money has gone to the right parties. Our cash has gone from our account or from the mortgage broker's account, the lender, to the sellers. They are good to go. They are happy. They have their money. Now we're good to get the keys.
Yeah. So they give your money away, and then you can get keys.
Exactly.
And then what happens after that?
When you grab keys, come open up the door, and we say hello to our new home.
Then you're home.
We let our dog run around the yard a little and realize there's a hole in the fence that we had to patch up a little because he's an escape artist. But we had some guys come with moving trucks that day, helped us out. One thing I would recommend, like if you're planning home renos or anything on your move time, have like 2 weeks or something before you move out of your existing place. I think we had 4 days, and that was 4 days to move all of our belongings here, paint this whole house, and clean the old house. And I don't know if any of you guys have cleaned rentals, but man, it's more work than you think. And so we were definitely it was a hectic 4 days moving in. We were painting the first 3 weeks we lived here, but got it totally all painted up on the main floor. And it's kind of a whirlwind of time. We sold a lot of our furniture so we could just buy new stuff and whatnot. But it's exciting, but also doesn't feel like you're home for the first little bit. You're kind of living out of boxes and whatnot. Nice being a realtor where I could take a couple days where I'll go out for showings and whatnot, but I can kind of work from home and be at home getting the house set up and ready to go. Outside of that, like I started switching my address over on bills and things like that. I think garbage day is the same for us as it was at our old place, so that didn't change. But that is something that clients usually ask, and it's
garbage day mail.
Yeah.
Are you still like mail to the door here?
Yeah, mail to the door.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of sweet. Yeah, our old place we had to walk down the street for a box, but this one's mail to the door.
Yeah, door to door delivery still.
Pretty cool. Pretty old school here.
That's one of the benefits of the mature areas of town.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the story of our first time home purchase.
So, a couple questions. We'll just ask about the house. What is probably the number one favorite part of the house since you've moved in?
Favorite part is easily the kitchen, dining, living area. It's all connected, open concept. We had 25 people from our young adults group here the other night. We have a big island where all the food can go as well as people can be sitting. And then, room for our dining table, lots of room for, we got a couple couches up there. So it didn't feel cramped with 25 people in here, which is, big change from our old place.
Okay. And then what is one thing that either bothers you or you'd like to change or you didn't really notice? Like what's the one thing that nags you about the place, maybe.
Yeah. There's only one bathroom in here, which when they redid it and it is a huge bathroom. Everyone always opens the door and is like, "Wow, this is a big bathroom." So that is nice for Chloe and I. But as soon as we have guests over here, and maybe there's a lineup for the bathroom, maybe you wish there was one in the basement here. Things
Yeah,
like
when you have
that.
25 people.
When 25 people here, yeah, exactly. Luckily, it was only a couple hours, so there was no big log jam there. But yeah, no, it's definitely the thing that is easy for Chloe and I, because our rental only had one bathroom. But as soon as we start hosting more, our families, bigger events, things like that, it's definitely a bit of an inconvenience.
Yeah. And that's one thing we talked about, right?
Totally, yeah. Even like when we walked around it, we realized that might be an issue, and we talked to Jeff about. The thing is, often basements will be unfinished and have a pre-plumbed in area that your basement can go into that your basement bathroom can go into pretty easily. This place does not have plumbing in for a basement bathroom, so it is going to be a fair bit of work when we're planning probably a little ways down the road, maybe in the fall, doing a bathroom downstairs here. But we're gonna have to cut the slab and do a lot of work there. So
Yeah.
trust in my father-in-law has a lot of energy.
But it's also one of those things, you probably got it at a lower price because they only had the one bathroom, and also recognize that you're going to get more value out in the end when you go to sell with the one bath.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, if we had another bathroom and it becomes more of a family home or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what would be one thing that you would recommend for every first-time buyer to do? Like, what is the one thing, like, most important thing?
I mean, getting pre-approval is probably that thing. There's just so many people that call me up and want to go look at a place, and then they talk to a mortgage broker, and then they're a little embarrassed, or they're a little like, "What? I can't afford this." They're confused. And so it just makes the process so much easier.
So, like, online, I fill out, like, one of those quick questionnaires, or?
Yeah, maybe not that. Maybe, and especially even if you come to one of us first, a realtor as a first step is a good call too, because we can always give you advice, and we will send you, just about all of us have a few favorite mortgage brokers in town, or even your bank, that where you can go fill out a full pre-approval where they do a credit check and they check your background, and they can actually tell you how much money they are able to give you 90% of the time.
Yeah, they're going to tell you what you need. And, it's one of those things you might be wondering if you can buy. And I know, Sam, we talked a few times about buying before you purchased.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a far off thing for you.
Totally. I thought it was going to be 2 years from now.
Yeah.
And we could actually afford more, especially with just Chloe's income. I didn't think that we would be able to afford much. And we could afford a lot more than I was, kind of assuming.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things, it doesn't hurt to go talk to the mortgage broker.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're pleasantly surprised, like Sam was, that they were maybe a little further along than he thought initially. The other thing that mortgage brokers can do is help you chart a course, because she also set out a little bit of a course for you if you want to use your income, right?
Totally.
Kind of gave you an idea of what you're looking at, what to do, what not to do, maybe what to pay off.
Yeah. She'd even said if you come back in the fall when you have a year of taxes done and you've been at it about a year and a half, then there might be some lenders that will start considering your income, using that and whatnot. So yeah.
And self-employed, commission sales, generally the rule of thumb is 2 years on that, I think.
Yeah.
They're looking for 2 years of history. 3 is even better. I know, I've been in this business a long time, and often they're looking for minimum 2, often 3.
Yeah. And I mean, the ways to kind of skip that would be the cosigner. If you got someone in your life that's willing to do that and help you out. But yeah, like Chloe and I both have a lot of siblings, so our parents were like, well, co-signing for 5 kids will not actually be possible. So they kind of, let us see what we could do on our own, and we made it work.
And with co-signers, so it could be family member, it could be friend, whatever. But just of note for that, someone can't co-sign for everybody often unless they're extremely wealthy, because then they're responsible if that person defaults.
Yeah.
And then they also have to have the capability. I've had people try and co-sign for siblings or for kids, but sometimes that they're in a position where they're already stressed financially.
You get stretched too thin, right? If you're got multiple properties that you're signed on.
So number one thing, call a mortgage broker. What's one thing you shouldn't do? What's like the don't do this?
So this is actually something that's been relevant. I've been hearing people doing this a fair bit recently. If you drive past a listing and you think that house looks awesome on the outside, don't just call the name on the sign. because that realtor has a vested interest in the sellers that are selling that property. They are representing them first before you. They've already signed an agreement with them to represent them well. So instantly, you are at a disadvantage if that becomes your realtor. You know, if they're showing it to you, they're trying to sell you on their product, and essentially they're gonna get paid twice. And it is not going to cost you a penny to call Jeff or I or any other realtor you trust to come show you that house. We have access to every lockbox in the city, and we can call and set up. And then it just creates this nice, safe barrier between you and the owners of that house where there's no conflict of interest. We are representing you, and we want you to get the best deal, whereas they're representing the seller and want them to get the best deal in their house. So it just gives you someone on your team that you're not paying anything extra for, that can go out, show you a bunch of houses, someone you feel comfortable around, that you know isn't going to try and push you to buy something. And
yeah. So with that, obviously you touched a bit on the process of buying. You touched on how you offered. Some of the things I know that you did, because we talked about and we looked at together, were prior to them putting in an offer, we looked at the sales history on this house.
Yeah.
You know, when did the people buy it? What work did they do between now and then? You know, what did they pay? We looked at other sales in the area, and just even this price range across the city. You know, what is a house of similar square footage, similar updates selling for? You know, how much are they coming down from asking price to sale price? You know, there's lots of things that we can tell you. And when we're working for your benefit as the buyer, we're gonna make sure you know that, so you can make an informed choice and be as educated as you can be.
Yeah, because that was something I just talked with some friends who bought their house through the listing agent. And then I showed them the history on the property. They had not seen what the house used to look like because it was a rental house. So they hadn't seen what it originally looked like. They didn't know what the previous owners paid for the house, even though that was accessible information for realtors on the MLS.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't in the seller's agent's best interest to show them that price. You know, because these guys bought it real cheap. They did a good job fixing it up. But at the end of the day, like, it would have been nice for my clients to see what it looked like before, you know, see the bones of the home a little bit.
Well, it even sometimes give you questions, gives you the questions to ask.
Totally.
You know, because we looked at this one and it's like, wait, it was half the size before.
Yeah. This house was 800 square feet the last time it sold, and now it's 1,300 square feet. So
obviously, the addition was done during the previous owner's time.
Yeah.
So we could ask questions because we knew that they were actually the ones who put the addition on. So we could ask, who did they use, stuff like that. And I think they even gave you a contractor name.
Totally,
of who they used.
Yeah. They had used a building company, and got all the information on that. So that was helpful.
Yeah, so those are all things that we can provide to a buyer during the process. It's a little bit different because Sam's in the business, and some of it takes advantage, and I do too, that we have accessibility to those things. But it's not just for us. We can share this information with you as a buyer.
Totally. All my, like, when I first got into it, I would go to my friend's house and they'd be like, "Oh, show me my house before I bought it," or "What the old guys buy it for," or what's my parents' house for, you know, stuff like that. And it's just fun to have that information, and it's helpful, it's useful, and we have it, and we can share it with you.
Yeah. So one more thing, obviously you did not get charged anything by a realtor to purchase this place.
Yep.
Is that anything special because you're a realtor?
No, like, nobody will get charged as a buyer. If you are buying a house, a realtor is a free resource to use. When you're selling a house, it's pretty standard that you offer up commission for the person selling your house, the agent selling your house, as well as him then to offer half his commission to the buying agent. So, you know, if you're buying, by all means, I've talked to a couple of people that say, "No, it's okay, I don't want to use a realtor to buy, I'm going to buy privately." Basically what you're doing is giving the selling agent his full commission without having to share with anyone, and not having anyone acting, you know, as your negotiator, your communicator, and stuff like that. So that's something that we offer, that service. And the way that kind of the industry has been built is that seller pays. So seller pays for both the listing agent as well as the cooperating agent, so the buyer's agent. So we're compensated that way, so we don't do it for free. We do love doing it, but at the same time, Sam needs to now help Chloe pay for this place.
So he needs to make some money, but that's how we do it when we represent buyers is we are compensated. So really there's no cost for you to use us. There's no obligation. There is paperwork we go through. There is buyer agreements that we need to go through, but we can do non-exclusive. Really, we're part of the service industry, so we want to serve you the best we can.
Yeah, 100%. We don't try and trap you in anything. We're not going to ask for you to pay extra fees for us. Basically, it's if you buy a house with us, we get paid, and we appreciate it, but also we just want to help you out. Like, it's not going to cost you a penny, and I love helping people I care about, and just, when I hear about people kind of getting pulled around by a seller's agent who is, representing them, using them as a customer kind of thing, then it's tough to hear afterwards that they maybe missed out on some information that they could have had if they had asked for a specific buying agent.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of wraps up a little bit of Sam's story, a little bit about buying. If you guys have any more questions about buying, you can contact us.
Contact us.
I think we made up a word there.
There we go.
So you can contact us. If you ever want to talk about anything more specific or hone in on maybe the home, like the home inspection process, we could do an episode on that or something. This is just a bit of a rough overview.
Yeah. Supposed to kind of give you just an overview of how the overall transaction works.
Kind of first-hand experience is Sam going through it recently.
Yeah. So if you want to come over and see my house sometime, maybe.
Depending how he likes you.
Yeah,
Grandma Max for sure.
Exactly.
We'll let Grandma Max come.
Grandma Max is welcomed here.
Yeah.
Grandma Max, thanks for listening and watching and subscribing. Everyone else can do that too.
If you have anything that you'd like us to talk about in the future, maybe episode number 2.5, 3.5, whatever it is.
Maybe we'll just call it 2 next time.
Maybe, next time it's 2. We'll be happy to chat about different things. One day I'll tell you about my first home buying experience, which was dramatically different.
1985.
Not quite, but as I do the math, I think it was 15 years ago when I purchased my first home. Mine was a little different because I actually purchased a piece of land and...
Your first home when you were 30?
Yeah. Almost when I was 15, man. 15. So it was... I purchased a piece of land. I built a home. So it's a little bit different. So one of these episodes we'll talk about home building. I've done it a couple times. I used to work for a home builder before I became a realtor. My brother had a small home building company. So we'll talk about that. And maybe next time one of these times at least, we'll talk about the seller and kind of the seller's perspective on things.
Process on, maybe your first time selling a home. So maybe I'll sell this home in a month. Chloe, can we sell a home? Maybe Chloe will sell our home in a month, and we could have a first time story about that too.
There you go. Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate the support.
We need like a catchphrase at the end.
I don't know. Signing off.
Team marketing signing off.
That's the way the cookie crumbles.
I don't know. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Out.